Hi everybody, it's Nick here, and we'll be looking at the brand new Gangs of London, a show by Gareth Evans, who's famous for The Raid, and Matt Flannery, don't really know what he's done, to be honest with you. So before I watched this, a friend of mine sent me a message and said, Nick, check it out, it's on Sky Atlantic, it's also on Cinemax in America, and he was like, dude, it's literally like, I don't know, Game of Thrones had a child with The Raid Redemption, that it's got plot, it's got intrigue, it's got spit on the table, and it has action and violence like you cannot believe. And after watching Extraction on Netflix the week before, I was like, wow, are we actually getting this on streaming services? And a great thing about this show is everything landed at the same time. You've got 9 episodes ranging between, I don't know, 50 minutes to almost an hour and 10 minutes for some of them. And it was, yes, oh yeah, I'm invested. And I was pretty happy, to be honest with you, with the overall of the show. And here are some of the reasons why. We'll look at the good things first. We're looking at one of the best directors for action ever, if you ask me. We've got now the dude who did Extraction, Sam Hargrave, I think it is. He did a bloody good job at this. That's because he is a choreographer and he knows what he's doing when it comes to this. I don't know where this Gareth Evans gets this shit from, but it's absolutely phenomenal. It is brutal. You sit there and you go, oh, when people are getting, I think one guy, what's his name? Elliot, who's played by, I'll get to his name just now, stabs a guy with a bloody dart, and he sort of justifies it, like, you just took down 6 people. He's like, 7, but I did have a dart. There's a little bit of humor in this, very little. It kind of stands out, to be honest with you, when the humor does come in, because it's so dark and heavy. They really should have woven a little bit of more humor into it, to be completely honest with you, because it does get a little bit too heavy. So anyway, this basically follows, the entire story follows Sope Dirisu, who plays Elliot Finch, who's an undercover cop. And he has been sent in to find out what the hell's going on after Walsh, basically a very, very powerful guy called Finn Walsh, played by Cole Meany. He is assassinated in the first episode and has a massive power vacuum that's left behind. He was head of probably the most powerful crime family in London, and now he's gone, he's killed. There's this massive vacuum, there's this power play. You've got his son, Sean Walsh, who's a very trigger-happy and fiery character, impulsive, played by Joel Cole, and he's not sort of qualified, I suppose, or not even qualified, but suitable for the role of running the family. His brother from another mother, literally, kind of is, and so there's this sort of background dynamics, as I mentioned, kind of like Game of Thrones, where everyone's trying to stab and claw their way to victory, which would be, of course, running this family. In and among all of this, you have the family who runs the show, and underneath them in sort of micro, I suppose, organizations, you've got the Kurdish freedom fighters, you've got the Pakistan drug cartel, you've got the Welsh travelers, bikers, and you have the Albanian mafia, and even the Chinese triads. And overall, and you've even got Nigerian developers with big bloody knives cutting people up. I must say, when I saw them come out, I was a little bit like, damn it, this is kind of like District 9 with the stereotype panga, a Nigerian wielding panga guy cutting guys' arms off and shit. It was a little bit on the nose, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit sensitive because I'm from South Africa. But overall, like I say, the story is pretty good. It's very heavy. Up till about episode 5, it is very, very good. It lays a foundation for each family or each organization and who runs it and why they are doing what they're doing. From the Kurdish fighter who watched her husband burned alive, and that's why she's sending, she's in crime because she's sending money back home. The problem with all of this is that you don't like any of them, and that's the biggest issue with this entire series, is that you don't like the people. Even Elliot is a little bit difficult to like as the undercover kind of protagonist, because he's so stupid. The character is dumb. He does things that you would never think an undercover cop is going to do. Yes, there's a cliche of cops falling in love with the people that they're supposed to be looking after, but there's other things where he could easily save somebody by just not identifying himself as a cop, but he identifies himself as a cop and gets the person murdered. It's like, why would you do that if you're trying to save somebody and that other person thinks you're on their side? I mean, what? Yeah, there's a lot of dumb decisions in this. Also quite a few plot holes as far as story elements are concerned. Maybe they'll bring it back if there's a season 2 and they'll fill them in. Certainly is space left for a season 2. Wouldn't be surprised if we do get one, because it's done pretty well. People are enjoying it out there. And as I say, for myself, up to episode 5 out of 9, it was phenomenal. The action was absolutely brilliant. Episode 5 is one of the best action sequences I have ever seen, where some guys try and get into a house and the house is on lockdown, very much like the Raid Redemption, to be honest with you. And the action is just, I think I watched that one particular action scene which goes on for about 25 minutes 3 or 4 times back to back, just because it was so bloody well directed. So like I say, the action is phenomenal. The directing is pretty good too. But when it comes to the actual story itself, the character development, it really does let itself down. There are some really implausible story arcs towards the end of this. It also goes into almost Dan Brown territory as far as conspiracies are concerned, and the scope of the story, which was contained to London, and that's why I liked it. It's called Gangs of London, not Gangs of International. And that's where it sort of fell apart. It started grabbing maybe too large a picture. So when it was refined up to episode 5, really good. After that, it kind of got messy, sloppy. Characters did stupid things. One character kind of started developing a bit. Sean, the son that I mentioned earlier, who was left, in charge of this after his dad was murdered. He started getting a bit better. But like I say, towards the end of the last episode, episode 9, I was a little bit weary, to be honest. I was tired of watching it. And not the action, which did sort of dissipate as we went towards the last episode. The story just really irritated me in a lot of spots. It was like, why are they doing that when they've said that they're going to do this? Why is this particular person now got a vendetta, and now they're sleeping with the person they had a vendetta against? It was just like, oh man. So yeah, to me, this is a 6.5 out of 10. It's worth a watch. Specifically, in particular, the first 5 episodes. But after that, just be wary that it does become a little bit laborious. At least I found it a bit laborious when the story starts arcing out like this. And you're like, why are you doing that? You've actually killed half the fucking people, but now you want a larger story? What happened? You're doing this in verse. But anyway, that's my opinion. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Don't know what that was. Fuck.